All right, welcome to AP Economics, Basic Economic Concepts, Introduction to Econ, and Market Economies. In this video, you will learn the relevance of economics, as well as we're going to compare and contrast market economies versus command economies. All right, so to jump right in, let's start by defining economics. And what you see in front of you is probably about as short and succinct and simple a definition of economics as you will find. I'm defining it as the study of choice. This is admittedly a little bit more simple than most definitions you'll find, but ultimately if you do Google, economics definitions, what is economics, you'll find more complicated versions, but they all keep coming back to the same thing, which is that it's about people making choices. That everything we do in life, we have to make choices. We have to give up one thing in order to get something else. That's what economics is all about. It's not about money necessarily, specifically. It's not about finance only. It's about any time we're making a decision. So econ, in my opinion, is one of, if not the most relevant things that we can study, because it really comes back to us as people making good choices. So hopefully this class can help you to make better choices everything we do in life. All right, so again, just a simple vocab term here, a market, something that we're familiar with. Market brings together buyers and sellers. So somebody wants to sell something, somebody wants to buy something. You can go to a physical market, to a place. You can also engage in online or electronic markets as well to just trade things. So again, this is a place where trade happens, really. So we have market economy. Again, the main thrust of this video is market economies versus command economies. So the idea, sometimes it's called capitalism, sometimes you hear the words free market. A market economy is where individual producers and consumers, people, decide what to produce, how to produce it, and who to produce those things for. So when we talk about a market economy, really we're thinking of freedom. People are the ones who have power, and the next slide is going to go into a lot more detail on that. So we have some characteristics of market economies, and we have about 9 of them here. Again, this is an introductory video, so I don't want to take time to go through all of these so specifically. There should and can be videos on each of these by themselves, in all honesty. One of the most important characteristics is private property rights. So people own the various resources in the economy. That's the second one, private ownership. Those two things go together. Government protects your right to own private property, and as a result of that, you're allowed to use that property and use your resources as you wish. So you can try your best to make money using those resources, and prices are determined by supply and demand, which obviously will be a huge component of this course. Competition, again, something that we'll talk about a lot throughout this year, is something that businesses competing for people's business causes prices to be lower. Consumer sovereignty is the idea that ultimately customers have power. They don't have to buy anything. You are free to choose to buy something or not to buy something. So ultimately consumers have the power. They're not forced to pay prices that they feel are too high or unfair, anything like that. We also have a profit motive. So again, if you create something and people want it, you are able to make money. And that is the main goal of businesses, is to make money. And so that is a main characteristic as well. Again, we have freedom to trade. So that same idea of consumer sovereignty, you are not forced to engage in trade. You have the freedom to do so only if you think that it'll be best for you. Decentralized decisions mean that it's spread out through the entire economy. Each individual person, each individual business, they get to choose what they do themselves without a government telling them what to do. And so that last one kind of goes with that. As a result of those things, you have a limited role of government. Command economy is really the opposite extreme. We have a government that decides what, how, and for whom to produce. So usually when we think of command economies, it could be socialist. In its most extreme form, it would be communist. And so you have some examples there in the pictures. So let's move on to the next slide to again get some more details on these things. Characteristics of a command economy. Central planning. So again, this is where you have some governmental authority that they're the ones who decide and make the economic choices for people rather than people and consumers doing it. There is public ownership of resources. So again, no private person owns their own property or owns their own resources, and as a result of that, the idea is that there won't be competition, there won't be a profit motive, so prices are going to be set by the government. So the government or the central planner, they will determine what should be produced, how to produce it, how much to charge for it, that kind of idea. It usually comes from an idea of, or a goal of, equality and fairness. However, as the fifth bullet point states, it's inefficient. The government or a central planner can't have all the information to know what exactly consumers want, how much they want, how they're going to respond, and as a result we end up with very inefficient decisions being made where we have huge shortages of some goods, which causes there to be long lines, as you see in some of those pictures, for basic necessities, and then you have huge surpluses of other goods being made that people don't really want. Then you have a couple others there, which again you can record. Doesn't reward individual performance, doesn't produce what consumers want. And the last one is important, it leads to black markets. So if people want certain things, other enterprising people will find a way to provide them with those goods, even if it's against the law, even if it's illegal. And so this creates like a secondary illegal market for goods and services that people want. Mixed economy, as it sounds, it's somewhere in between. This is where economic decisions are made both by individuals and by a central authority, usually meaning a government. So it's not a purely free market, but neither is it a command economy. The US, we have a mixed economy. We definitely trend more towards the market economy side. There are areas where the government gets involved, such as regulating industries, such as creating a minimum wage, various workplace standards, things like that where they do get involved. So we have a mixed economy in the United States. This has been a LaMoney production.